Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we'll be taking a closer look at the Internet of Things.
IoT, right.
Exactly. And it looks like you've sent over some excellent resources on the topic.
Awesome. Always happy to chat about IoT.
Well, this paper from Jörg-Owe particularly caught my eye. Really dives into some fascinating stuff.
Schneppat's always got interesting takes on tech.
Yeah, it seems like you're already pretty familiar with the world of IoT, so let's sleep the basics. No need to explain what a smart fridge is.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so I think a good place to start is always with the big picture. What exactly is the Internet of Things? What's the core idea that makes it so revolutionary?
Well, Schneppat describes it as like weaving the digital world into our physical reality.
Okay, so it's not just about having like a bunch of gadgets connected to the Internet.
Right. It's more about these everyday objects actually communicating with each other, sharing data, working together to make our lives better.
Like a network of smart devices all chatting away.
Exactly. And Schneppat really emphasizes that it's not just about convenience. It's about efficiency, safety, and creating a more responsive world.
So my toaster and coffee maker aren't just making breakfast. They're coordinating the perfect morning routine.
Something like that.
Okay, but Schneppat also talks about this layered architecture of IoT, sort of like a cake. Why is it important to understand this structure?
Well, each layer has a specific function. Just like with a cake, you need all the ingredients to work together for the final product.
Okay, I'm following you. So Schneppat outlines 5 key layers: perception, network, processing, application, and security. So let's start at the bottom. What's going on in the perception layer?
The perception layer. That's where the sensors come in. They're constantly collecting data from the physical world. Things like temperature, light, motion, all that stuff.
So the sensors are like the eyes and ears of the system.
Exactly. They're what allows the IoT system to actually sense what's going on around it.
Got it. So the sensors gather data, but that data needs to travel, right?
Of course. That's where the network layer kicks in. It's all about connecting devices and enabling them to share information. Think Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular networks.
So it's like the communication highway of the IoT world.
You got it. And then all that data needs to be processed, right? It's just raw information at that point.
Right. That's where the processing layer steps in.
Yeah, think of it as the brain of the IoT system. It takes that raw data and transforms it into meaningful insights. It's where algorithms and machine learning do their magic.
Okay, so the processing layer makes sense of all the data coming from the sensors. But then what?
Well, that's where the application layer comes into play. It's the part we actually interact with. It's where we see the results of all that data crunching.
So it's like the user interface, the part that translates the IoT's actions into something we can understand and use.
Exactly. Think about the apps on your smartphone that control your smart home devices. That's the application layer in action.
Okay, so we have sensing, networking, processing, and application. But what about security? Schneppat dedicates a whole section to that. Why is it so crucial in the context of IoT?
Oh, it's absolutely vital. Think about it. Billions of devices are all interconnected, exchanging sensitive data. Security needs to be built into every single layer.
Right. I mean, you don't want someone hacking into your smart fridge and ordering a year's supply of pickles.
Exactly. And it's not just about silly pranks. We're talking about protecting critical infrastructure, personal data, and even national security.
Okay, so security is a big one. Now, Schneppat also talks about these specific technologies like sensors we already talked about and actuators, and then there's edge computing. Can you break those down for us?
Sure. We've covered sensors, those data-gathering heroes. But actuators are like the muscles of the IoT system. They take those insights from the processing layer and actually make things happen in the physical world.
So if the sensor is telling the system, hey, the room is too hot, the actuator is the one actually turning on the AC.
Precisely. They're what allow the IoT to interact with the physical world, turning on lights, adjusting thermostats, you name it.
Wow, it's really fascinating how all these pieces work together. And what about edge computing? I hear that term thrown around a lot, but I'm not sure I fully grasp it.
Okay, so imagine instead of sending all that data to the cloud for processing, some of that thinking happens right there at the edge, closer to the devices themselves.
So it's like giving each device a little bit of its own brain.
Exactly. It makes the system faster, more efficient, and also more resilient.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So we've got the architecture, we've got the technologies, but what does this all actually look like in the real world? I mean, where are we seeing IoT making a tangible difference?
Oh, the applications are practically endless. Smart agriculture, telemedicine, self-driving cars, smart cities. Schneppat really paints a picture of a world transformed by IoT.
Okay, slow down. Pick one and really unpack it for us. Like, what's a specific example that really gets you excited?
All right, let's talk about smart agriculture. Imagine a farm where sensors monitor everything: soil moisture, temperature, nutrient levels. And then that data is used to automatically adjust irrigation and fertilizer.
So it's like giving each plant exactly what it needs when it needs it.
Exactly. No more wasted resources, just optimized growth. And it can have a huge impact on sustainability, food security, and even the quality of the food we eat.
That's pretty amazing.
Right. But of course, there's always another side to the coin.
Yeah, I was just thinking it can't all be sunshine and roses, right? What about the challenges? Schneppat mentioned some potential downsides too, right?
Absolutely. We'll dive into those next.
So we've talked about the amazing potential of IoT, but Schneppat is pretty clear that there are some significant challenges too, right?
Absolutely. And he doesn't sugarcoat it. I mean, think about it. As we connect billions, trillions of devices, the sheer amount of data.
Yeah, the data, that's got to be a huge hurdle.
Exactly. Schneppat calls it a data deluge. Managing and processing that much information without, creating bottlenecks or slowing things down.
It's like trying to drink from a fire hose, right?
Exactly. We need a whole new level of infrastructure to handle that kind of data flow. And then there's the security aspect.
Oh yeah, security.
Yeah.
With all those devices connected, it's got to be a nightmare to keep everything safe.
Schneppat really hammers that point home. He says robust security is absolutely non-negotiable.
And I can see why. I mean, if someone hacks into your smart thermostat, it's annoying. But if they hack into a city's power grid,
That's a whole different ballgame. We need to be thinking about security from the very beginning, building it into every layer of the IoT ecosystem.
yeah, multiple layers of protection, encryption, authentication, all of that.
Exactly. And that brings us to another challenge Schneppat mentions: the need for people who actually understand this stuff.
Right. We need experts who can design, build, and manage these complex systems.
It's not just about coding anymore. It's about understanding the entire ecosystem, the interactions, the potential vulnerabilities. We need a whole new generation of tech-savvy folks.
Okay, so we've got the architecture, the tech, the challenges.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the fun part. What does Schneppat see in the future for IoT? What's on the horizon?
Well, he's definitely optimistic about the future. He talks about 5G being a total game changer.
Oh yeah, 5G, faster speeds, more bandwidth, all that good stuff.
Right. And he sees AI playing a huge role, too, like integrating artificial intelligence into IoT systems.
AI and IoT. That sounds like a powerful combination.
It is. Imagine systems that can learn from data, make predictions, even take actions on their own.
It's like the machines are becoming self-aware, straight out of science fiction.
Haha. Well, maybe not that far, but it's definitely getting more sophisticated. Think about things like personalized healthcare, where wearable sensors monitor your health and AI algorithms make recommendations.
So it's not just about collecting data anymore. It's about actually using that data to improve our lives.
Exactly. And remember edge computing? Schneppat thinks that's going to be crucial for AI-powered IoT.
Because it allows for processing closer to the devices, right?
Yep. Faster decision-making, more responsive systems.
Okay, so we've got 5G, AI, edge computing. Schneppat is painting a pretty exciting picture of the future. But what does all this mean for everyday people? How is it going to impact our lives?
Well, Schneppat believes that IoT has the potential to transform just about every aspect of our lives, from the way we work, to the way we travel, to the way we interact with the world around us.
And not just in terms of convenience, right?
Yeah.
Like he talks about the potential for IoT to address some of the world's biggest challenges.
Exactly. Things like climate change, resource scarcity, healthcare access. Schneppat argues that IoT can be a powerful tool for creating a more sustainable and equitable world.
That's a pretty bold vision.
Yeah.
But, as we were saying before, it's not all going to be easy. There are some serious ethical and societal implications to consider.
Oh, absolutely. Privacy concerns, the potential for bias in AI algorithms, job displacement. These are all things we need to be talking about right now.
Right. We need to be having these conversations, thinking critically about how we want to shape the future of IoT.
Exactly. We need to be proactive, not reactive. And I think that's a key message from Schneppat's work.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the architecture, the tech, the applications, the challenges, the future of IoT. But now I want to turn things over to our listener for a moment.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
What resonates with you the most about what Schneppat has to say? What excites you? What concerns you? We want to hear your perspective. As we're talking about all of this, I just can't help but think about, the human side of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Schneeppet doesn't just talk about the technology. He really emphasizes the impact it's going to have on, on people, on
Oh,
society.
yeah. That's one of the things I really appreciate about his work. He doesn't lose sight of the human element amidst all the tech jargon and the futuristic scenarios.
Exactly. He talks about creating a more human-centered IoT,
Mm.
one that prioritizes things like, privacy and accessibility, even things like fairness in those AI algorithms we were just talking about.
Right. Like he says, it's not just about connecting devices, it's about connecting people and using technology to actually improve people's lives.
Yeah, and I think, it's easy to get swept up in all the cool gadgets and the amazing possibilities,
Right.
but we really got to make sure that we're using this technology in a way that benefits everyone, right?
Absolutely. And Schneeppet gives some really interesting examples of how we can actually do that, like designing devices that are, easy to use for everyone, regardless of their tech skills or, physical ability.
Inclusive.
Exactly. And then there's the whole issue of like AI bias. We need to make sure those algorithms are fair and don't discriminate against certain groups of people.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier. There's a lot of potential for good here, but also a lot of potential for, unintended consequences if we're not careful.
Yeah, he really makes you think about the choices we're making now.
Yeah, Schnippet seems cautiously optimistic, though. Like, he believes we can steer this technology in the right direction.
I think so too. I think he's right, but it's going to take a lot of work. Obviously,
Yeah.
we got to have these conversations. We got to be asking the tough questions.
Can't just sit back and let the technology decide for us, right? Okay, so I think we've given our listener a pretty good overview of Schneppet's take on IoT. But I think, the most important thing is what our listener takes away from all of this. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. What parts of Schneppet's work resonated with you? What are you most excited about? And what concerns you?
It's a lot to think about for sure. Schnippet's work really highlights the fact that the future of IoT is it's really in our hands. It's up to us to shape this technology, to use it responsibly, and to make sure it benefits everyone.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful message. We've explored the architecture, the technology, the applications, the challenges. But ultimately, it's about how we as individuals and as a society decide to use this incredible tool.
And that's why discussions like this are so important.
Totally. We need to keep these conversations going, keep learning, keep exploring. So, listener, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on all of this? What questions do you have? What possibilities do you see? Let's keep this conversation going.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey into the world of IoT. A huge thank you to our expert for joining us and sharing your insights.
It's been a pleasure. Always happy to talk about this stuff.
And of course, thank you to our listener for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking.
I hope so too.
Until next time, stay curious.